This video is sponsored by me and you. Find out more at the end. Hello everyone, my name is Apostate. As the name implies, I'm an apostate from Islam, or in other words, I'm an ex-Muslim. I wear a mask for my anonymity and safety because I make videos talking about Islam and other related topics. But if I'm an ex-Muslim and I know a lot about the problems in Islam, why would I want to practice it again? I'm sure everyone's confused. Even Shaitan is confused. Hit the like button if you too are confused. And keep watching because I will explain. First, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I haven't been a Muslim in many years. I haven't even practiced or pretended to practice Islam in a long time, with the rare exception of the time I went to a mosque to pray Taraweeh. I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and I didn't just practice Islam passively because of my environment. I intentionally put in effort to be a good Muslim. And though my family is by no means extremist in their beliefs, they put a lot of emphasis on me memorizing the Quran, and they considered Islam in every aspect of our lives. Despite my solid religious foundation, from a very young age and over the years since, I've had unanswerable questions, and I struggle to make sense of a lot of the details in the religion, from the big picture premises to specific events and verses in the Quran. I didn't even think of these questions as doubts per se, because doubting Allah or leaving Islam never crossed my mind as a viable option. Eventually, my faith dwindled, and no amount of research and conversation with sheikhs made Islam make more sense. And I went through phases of practicing to try to regain my faith, and phases where I guiltily put Islam aside to focus on my early adulthood. During my last days as a Muslim, I practiced despite no longer believing, despite all of my research and reflection telling me that Islam is not true. There was no good reason for me to believe that it was true, and yet I was desperate to make sense of it because my life would be a lot more harmonious as a believer, and I felt a lot of guilt for not being good enough as a Muslim. Eventually, I decided that enough was enough, and I stopped trying to force myself to practice or believe. And I found other ex-Muslims, and I founded my own community of ex-Muslims, and I began properly deconstructing my past beliefs and my indoctrination. I understand that deconstruction is a process, it's not a one-time thing, but I feel confident in the progress that I made so far, and I no longer feel burdened by the religion. I've even gotten to a point where a lot of the Muslims in my life made peace with the fact that I don't believe or practice, which to a lot of you out there might sound like an impossible feat, and I don't take it lightly. It wasn't easy to get this far, and I know that in many ways I am lucky to make it this far. I was no longer existentially anxious about an afterlife and paradoxical beliefs, and I was free to find meaning and purpose in life, so I did. I found my purpose in helping others who are going through the deconstruction process. So I quit my lucrative career to focus on learning and producing videos, and I fully committed to my role as Apostate. While I still do other work on the side, this is what gets me out of bed in the morning. However, due to my personality type, I found out that I do not do well without structure. And add to that some unfortunate events in my life, and it's been a bit of a mess lately. My stress levels are up, and I haven't been eating well, and time seems to fly by, not in a good way. Earlier in my deconstruction, whenever I faced hardship, I would think to myself, is this God punishing me for not believing? Will being a Muslim again fix my life? Which is the same kind of superstitious thinking that apostates from other religions struggle with as well. I know now that there is no real validity to this kind of thinking, but for the sake of this video, let's say I wanted to use Islam to fix my life. How could I become Muslim again? I started by asking myself, why are so many people Muslim to begin with? Or why would someone convert willingly to a religion like Islam? And off the top of my head, I can think of a bunch of reasons, which I'll list on the screen. The obvious one is that most Muslims are born in Muslim families and are raised and indoctrinated into the religion, as they will someday do to their children. Even if they don't pray as regularly as they're supposed to, many feel a sense of obligation that keeps them tethered. They might feel like they aspire to be a better Muslim someday because it's the right thing to do, or to avoid the consequences in the afterlife. Some remain religious because they feel an obligation towards their family, or they see their cultural and ethnic identities intertwined with Islam. So abandoning their Muslim label is similar to betraying their roots. And I'm not saying that this is a good way to define one's identity. I'm just saying that some people do that. Others feel a sense of obligation towards God because they believe He does exist, and so do His promised rewards and punishments. Some seek religion to find purpose or meaning, or to answer their existential questions, or out of desperation for help in the form of a community or a reason to live. And some get used to the structure religion provides through rituals and scheduled prayer times. I've seen people convert for love, to be with a partner who's not allowed to marry outside the religion, or to smoothen things out with the partner's family. And I've seen people pitching their religion for utilitarian and practical reasons to fix the problems in society and what they perceive to be moral degeneracy and so on. Tangentially related is Ayan Hirsi Ali's conversion to Christianity to help her fight the civilization war against communism and Russia and Islamism. When it comes to more shady motivations for converting, there are those who become Muslim for the clout. A lot of Muslims seem to shower new converts with love and attention, especially if they're white. So controversial figures like Andrew Tate do it for a boost in popularity. And the archetype of a Western Muslima with a large social media following has become a fairly common one recently. I'm sure that there are a few more reasons that people convert to Islam and other religions, but those are the ones that came to mind. Looking back at my life, I decided that I need a change of pace. Some people adopt new productivity techniques, and some travel the world with a backpack, and others join a religion. I want to try that last one. Out of all the reasons to join Islam that I listed, the only one that I find applicable to my situation is the need for structure. Everything else doesn't really apply to me. I don't find Islam's philosophy on life or morality sensible, nor do I get purpose or meaning from it. I'm also not trying to be a part of a Muslim community because I wouldn't fit in or conform. So I prefer to surround myself with people I can be authentic with, without having to self-censor or pretend. My social circle currently includes a couple of Muslims already, and I don't think that's going to change much. I'm also not marrying a Muslima, so don't worry, ladies. But I've decided to convert to Islam for a couple of weeks, in the sense that I'll be practicing it religiously, to see if I gain any benefits from the structure that it provides. And I'm also curious to see how it feels without all the baggage, without the urgency and threats and obligation, and without having to convince myself that it's perfect and I am faulty. And I'm not going to half-ass it. I'll say the Shahada, and I'll pray, and I'll read Quran, and aside from actually believing, I'll be indistinguishable from a Muslim. So I'm excited to see how the next couple of weeks will go, and I'm excited to take you with me on that experience so I can share what I learned from it. But first, I gotta make it official, and I have to say the Shahada, the Islamic Declaration of Faith. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Some sheikhs get their kafiyas in a twist if you don't say it in Arabic, because the religion meant for all mankind has to be practiced in Arabic for some reason. So here you go. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I am now a revert. Which is funny because some Muslims call all converts reverts, because Islam claims that we are all born Muslim, so converting is just reverting to your natural state. And I don't believe that, but since I was actually Muslim for most of my life, I guess the label revert does apply to me. I'm going to pray 5 times a day, trying my best not to miss a prayer and making up for it if I do. And I'll also be reading Quran every day, not just pronouncing it, but looking into the verses more deeply. And I might do some reading on Islam, though that will happen naturally as I go through the Quran. And I'll pray at the mosque occasionally, but I'm not doing the social aspect of conversion, as in participating in events and socializing with new Muslims. Though I am curious to experience love bombing firsthand, like a convert would. That feels deceptive and dishonest, unless I tell people at the mosque my backstory and why I'm doing this, which I don't feel like going through. And I'll be journaling every day throughout the 2 weeks, and I'll probably post some incremental updates on Patreon and YouTube, so if you're curious, consider becoming a member, or just wait till the next video. When I posted about this to my community, a lot of people were puzzled and they had some questions, so I'll answer those questions and what I presume a lot of you must be wondering right now. Why Islam specifically? Why not another religion? Because it's the most accessible religion to me. I'm already familiar with it, and I've been meaning to refresh my memory of the Quran anyway, so this gives me a chance to do that while being productive on the channel. And depending on how this experience goes for me and how interested the viewers are, I can try another religion next. So drop your suggestions below and tell me why I should try practicing your religion. Do you miss Islam? I do not. I suffered most of my life because I couldn't accept my non-belief. I feared hell and God so much while struggling to believe in both of them. So I don't miss the pain and confusion Islam has caused me, or the unwarranted reverence I used to give it. That being said, the reason discussions about Islam are still prominent on my channel is because it's still relevant to a lot of people around the world, and it's still taboo to discuss Islam critically. So I'm doing this for all the people who could benefit from it. Does this conversion even count? Given that I do not believe in a personal God or a messenger, or that Islam was sent down by said God through said messenger, am I considered a real Muslim just because I say the Shahada and pray on time? Probably not. Most Muslims would say this doesn't count, but I don't care. I'm doing it for my own curiosity, and I'm being transparent about the whole thing. Besides, this is a real-life demonstration of Pascal's wager. A lot of preachers say that you should pray to God and follow their religion just in case it's true, and Islamic preachers are no exception. There are even Muslims who say they don't necessarily believe, but they practice as best as they can just in case. So if I don't miss a prayer, I guess I'm more of a Muslim than a lot of Muslims out there. Either way, to appease the gods of YouTube, algorithmists, and clickbaities, let's just say I converted. Wait, astaghfirullah. Acknowledging other gods is shirk. Do I have to say the shahada again? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. What if you get tricked into remaining a Muslim? I don't foresee that happening. I still know everything that I know about Islam, and I'm not susceptible to religious propaganda. And even if my life vastly improves because of practicing Islam, I'll still have all the same questions and objections that I had before. I can't just start believing because my quality of life improved. Even if I get some sort of vision or spiritual experience that feels like Allah is talking to me personally, I will still need real answers. And I don't think I can ever rely on faith and feelings alone. Is this a cry for help? That's a valid question. If someone you know suddenly changes their entire life by joining a religion or a cult or some other high control group, it's a good idea to check in on them. So I appreciate your concern, but no, it's not a cry for help. If I look down on myself for having left Islam, or if I desperately wanted to make myself believe, or if I idolized Islam, then yes, that would be very concerning. But I'm fine for the most part. I just think this could be an interesting experience. Are you getting soft on Islam? Have you been a secret Muslim all along? Despite all my blasphemy and blunt criticism of Islam, I already get accused of being a secret Muslim because I commit the cardinal sin of having nuance. So I'm sure I'll get the same kind of accusation again. But to answer the question, no, not at all. I'm not encouraging anyone to convert, nor am I downplaying how harmful the religion is. I'm still well grounded when it comes to the problems of Islam and the suffering of many of its followers and ex-followers. But thankfully, I've overcome my religious indoctrination to the degree that I am no longer afraid of Islam. It has no power over me. I can engage with it however I want, and I take whatever I need from these experiences. So rest assured, I'm still thinking critically. What would convince you to remain a Muslim? The short answer is that God would know what would convince each and every one of us, myself included. The long answer is that it would take a lot. Like I said, I find the premise of religions like these faulty. God's insistence on worship and his judgment of people based on belief are just two of the many examples of things that don't make sense in Islam. So to believe in Islam, I would have to find satisfactory explanations to all of those. And I would need proof that God is indeed real and that it spoke to us through these messengers. Otherwise, Islam's stories are just as believable as all the rest of mythology. If Allah is real, I'm giving him plenty of opportunities to change my mind. Aside from my years of searching for faith back when I was a Muslim, I'm giving him 2 more weeks of me practicing Islam. So he knows how to reach me. And if I get some new revelation from God, I'll probably be on the forefront of fixing his religion. So stay tuned for the update video. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching, especially the supporters and donors who enable me to do what I do. I would not be here without you. And as always, think critically and think for yourself, and consider watching one of these videos next. Now, excuse me, I gotta go pray.